Hello everyone, welcome back again. So in the continuation of our communication series, we have been doing barriers of communication. So in the earlier video, we have done semantic barriers. Now we are going to start the another classification of barrier, that is psychological barrier. So without any further delay, let's begin. So students, first of all, I would like to define the meaning of psychological barrier. So here I am highlighting this part. I hope it is very much clear. So psychological barrier is a psychological state. Means if we talk about the barriers, you know the barrier meaning the hindrances, the kind of stoppage. See, all those barriers which we can see, which we can directly feel, are the presence of that barrier are known as the physical barrier. But if we talk about the psychological barriers especially, so they all are very much non-existent. Means they exist, but we cannot see them physically, we cannot touch them. They are all the things related to the minds, we can say the psychological state of a person, right? Means these barriers occur in the mind of a person. We cannot identify easily these barriers as easily we can identify the semantic barriers, right? So here the highlighted part is saying that it refers to the psychological state, that is opinions, attitudes, emotions, likes and dislikes, etc. of a person that deeply affects the ability to communicate. So it is very much to understand the state of psychological barriers, that it totally depends on the psychological state of a mind, the presence of mind, the mood of the mind, right? So here if we further classify the psychological barriers in the depth, we can say that every individual person has their own psychological mind, have their own attitudes, have their own opinions, emotions, likes and dislike. We cannot say that two individuals having the same mood at the same time, or the same mental strata, right? Every individual has their own different life, or their different ways to deal their life, right? So they obviously they must have the difference of opinions, they must have the different state of mind at the same time, right? So all the opinions, attitude, emotions, as well as the likes and dislike of a person, that deeply affects the ability to communicate. If some kind of barriers occur due to the reasons of opinions, some of the reasons of the emotional conflict, so it is going to fall under the psychological barrier. I hope it is clear to each and every one. See, the next line is saying that in communication, sometimes psychological state of both communicator and communicate cause obstruction, right? So it is very much apt to say that that in the communication process, as you know that there is one communicator and the another one is the receiver. So the receiver and the sender both have their difference of opinion, both have their different attitudes of mind. So we can easily say that occurrence of the psychological barriers occur at both the parties, right? So it if occur between both the parties, communicator and communicate, it is going to cause obstruction, right? So these barriers which occur at the part of the communicator and communicate due to the psychological state of mind, definitely it is going to cause obstruction, right? So let's see the more root causes of psychological barriers, why there is so much essential to understand the root causes, because root causes give us the clarity about the reasons to find out the psychological barriers, as well as it lighten our ways to show how to get rid of these psychological barriers. So let's begin. So students, so the very first root cause of the psychological barrier is differences in perception. See, it is very much clear, if as it is very much natural to say that the both two individuals have their own perception. Yes, it is very much true that if two parties are together and they are communicating on some particular subject, there might be a difference in perception will definitely going to exist, right? But the thing is that both the parties are mature enough to resolve their conflict for the smooth functioning of communication, right? They, because of their mutual understanding or the cooperation method, they come onto the same page. So it is very much necessary to understand each and other's point of view, right? So here we are talking about the root causes. So one of the root cause of psychological barrier is that if the two parties who are communicating with each other, they are very much obstinate in nature, they do not care about the feelings of each and another, they are very stubborn at their perception, so definitely barriers going to be occur. And if the barrier going to be occur, so it will fall under the category of psychological barrier, right? So differences in perception. Second one is the emotional status, right? If the two parties are communicating with each other and one party is having a very low emotional status or weak emotional status, that person is not fine at that day due to some stress or personal or professional level, he was feeling so emotionally weak, he was feeling so emotionally low, so this state of mind is also going to occur as a barrier, right? So emotional status also affect our process of a communication. If we are emotionally strong, we are very much open, we are very much keen to understand each and other's feeling, as well as we are feeling emotional fulfillment, then definitely it is going to nicely affect the process of communication. But if it is not, then it is going to adversely affect our communication process. Third one is close-mindedness. So here the close-mindedness meaning the thing of narrow mindedness. If a person is not very much flexible, if a person has very doubt to exploring new things, right? If the person showing illogical behavior, close mindedness is all about like the person is not ready to understand the other's point of view without any further help. He is so much stubborn on his own thoughts. He thinks that whatever he is saying, he is the only right person there, right? So close mindedness means when we do not listen others logic, when we don't want to change our behavior, when you don't want to change our opinion, right? We become very much inflexible regarding our opinion, so that is comes under the close mindedness. If a person, if one party of the communication is close mindedness, then definitely barriers is going to be occur. Next one is lack of trust. This is very important root cause of the psychological barrier. See, every communication depends on the trust factor, right? If two parties having a very strong relationship over the trust, they are very mutually understanding people, they trust each other's work, they trust each other's action, so definitely the communication process is going to smooth. Like if there is mistrust in the two entities, then definitely they are going to be very much doubts will be there, right? They are going to doubt each and another's action. So lack of trust also occur, create barriers that falls under the psychological barrier. Next one is inattentiveness. Here we can call inattentiveness as coldness. Means one party of the communication is not paying attention, showing very much cold behavior, while the other party is very much enthusiastic in nature to take out the things further, but one party is showing very much inattentive, and the reason might be various kind of reasons, right? So the inattentiveness, if you are not focused at the time of the communication, then definitely it is going to occur as a barrier. So inattentiveness also counted as the root cause of the psychological barrier. Next one is poor retention power and genuineness of the message. So the meaning of the second last point is that poor retention power. Whenever you are communicating with other entity and you are not listening to the other entity properly, means you are doing selective listening. You are just showing interest at the part to whom you are really interested. You are not thinking, or you are not paying attention to the other relevant factors, right? If you are doing so, then definitely you are going to have your poor retention power. Always remember that for a good communication skill, both the parties should have a strong retention power, right? And the strong retention power comes when you are very much focused at the time of communication. See, retention power means whenever the information is needed, you can easily recall it. You have to remember each and every minute things that happen at the time of communication. So it will help at the smooth functioning of communication. It will show that you are very much liveliness, you are very much enthusiastic in nature, and you are keen interested in this communication going on. And next one is the genuineness of the message. Always try to give genuine message at the time of communication. Means you must have hold the relevant source of information. Never try to interpret or try to share the false information with each other, right? And the last one is fear and status consciousness. So fear and status consciousness also falls under the psychological barrier. Whenever we are communicating with the other party and at our mind we these things occur that the other party is very much strong enough, hold authoritative power. So a kind of fear occur that this party is going to say what, right? A kind of fear that this party is going to deal with us nicely or not, right? So these aura of fear and the status consciousness occur as the psychological barriers. So these are the root causes of psychological barriers. I hope it is very much clear to each and every one. So that's all about today's lecture. We have completed the psychological barrier. So in the continuation of this video, we are going to see another classification of barrier. So please be stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it is very much clear. If you found it useful, please like this video, and if you wanted to ask something, please comment below. Thank you so much.